How do you make a pre-auction offer? A lot of buyers are really scared about going to auction because they fear being outbid, or they're just daunted by the prospect of performing in public. Now, because of this, a lot want to make an offer prior to auction. They think this is the best way to go about it. But is it always the best strategy? Well, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. There are 4 things that you need to consider. Number 1, market conditions. Now, in a hot market, it might be a good idea to consider going before auction, because if you wait to auction, there's going to be a lot of competition and you do have a higher chance of being outbid. But in a slower market, you might end up being the only buyer there, or the other buyers may not actually want to compete that hard. You might actually do better by going to auction. So the first thing to consider is, what are the market conditions at the time, and don't just make an offer purely because you're scared. Number 2, you need to consider, what is the property worth? Now, agents will quote a figure. They might have accidentally overquoted it, but usually they underquote. Now, if you think the property is worth a lot more than the agent is quoting, then you might have a good opportunity to buy that prior, because your offer, based on what you know it's worth, will sound very attractive to both the agent and the owner. And you know, because you've done your research, that if it gets to auction, you're likely to have to pay more than that. So that might be a good reason to make an offer prior. But if the agent is quoting a figure and you think it's worth around the same, or maybe even a little less, then you have nothing to gain by making an offer prior to go to auction. You're going to do better by going to auction. 3, what's the agent like? Is the agent likely to work with you on this, or are they likely to be difficult to deal with? Ask the agent how they handle pre-auction offers, because if they say to you that they are going to then shop it out so that every buyer knows what every other buyer has offered, then you potentially are going to end up in an auction scenario, but on the end of the telephone, where you can't see or hear where those other buyers are prepared to go to. You'd be better off going to auction under those circumstances. If, however, the agent is keen to work with you and is going to give you some set parameters and clear guidance in terms of what their process is, then that's more likely to be a scenario to make an offer prior to auction. But a word of warning, if they're too eager, that's a warning. You might be better to go to auction, because you might be paying too much if you offer first. Number 4, if it looks like making an offer prior to auction is a good idea, then you need to get ready before you make the offer. You need to be ready to actually buy the property, and you need to buy it under auction conditions. So do all your due diligence, and then when you make that offer, be prepared to put it on a contract with your deposit check and put a deadline on it.